everybody, Rob Oren here. Welcome back to the Origins 2017 Summer Preview. I'm here with Ryan Skinner, Passport Games. Brother, what do you got for us?
I have so many things. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So we have a new one that we're releasing a little bit later this year. We're showing off Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time.
You got me right there.
Gotcha. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
That's all you guys need to know. There you go. So we've been talking this one up for a couple months now. We're really excited for this one. It's a new one from Funforge, publisher of Takedo and a variety of other games. Okay. Big partner of ours that we work with out of France. This is a new cooperative game, which each player takes on the role of a character who is going to have to infiltrate the Citadel, which is the big board that you see here.
Okay.
The reason why the players are going to do this is the evil professor, Mr. Professor Evil himself, has traveled through time and he has stolen a bunch of historic treasures and artifacts and whatnot. Okay. Things like, for example, the Mona Lisa or an alien relic or the Ark of the Covenant and so forth. These little guys that we have here around the board. And we, of course, as the good, upstanding adventurers we are, will not stand for him stealing them.
Never.
So we're going to come into the Citadel and we're going to try to take them back from him using all of our teamwork and prowess and special abilities that we each bring to the table. The objective is to collect 4 of them before the professor can abscond with 4 of them himself. So it's kind of a race against Professor and against time, quite literally, to get all them, before he gets away. The trick is it's never that easy, of course. You're going to get in here, and what we're going to run into in the Citadel is locked doors and traps and all kinds of little puzzly things we're going to have to deal with, as well as avoiding the professor himself, this little guy, who is going to be kind of brain scrambled, running around the Citadel, locking doors behind him and just like making things difficult for us while we're trying to avoid him and so forth. So the actual gameplay works in a sense that each player gets a unique character, each of which has a kind of theme with its abilities. We have Leroy Johnson, the ruler of switches, for example. He's going to be really good at controlling the traps and turning them on and off as needed or what have you. We have various other characters, each with, like I said, their own theme.
Irene Eldor.
There you go. Each one has a deck of cards that they're going to have available to them. You get a couple actions out of your deck each turn, so you have some choices as far as what you can do. And you're going to infiltrate the Citadel, not through the front door like a foolish person. You're going to instead sneak through the window of the ballroom or through the window of the gallery or the library. So you're going to come in one of these kind of secret entrances to the Citadel, and then you're going to try to progress around the room, and you can spend actions to unlock doors or disarm traps and things like that. In order for you to collect one of the treasures, which are in these 3 rooms randomized at the start of the game using this deck, you have to have met certain conditions based on the treasure. So for example, the alien relic, we have to disable all the traps that match those symbols in the whole Citadel. So we're going to have to move around and do that. In addition to that, though, as we're taking our turns, the professor, like I said, is going to be roaming around and doing things, and he is controlled automatically with a set of dice. So every round that we move the professor, we're going to roll these, and it's going to tell us how much time he spends moving, which is going to be controlled by this here. He starts at the 12th point on the clock and moves clockwise. So in this point, he would move twice. This shows us how he's going to actually move in the Citadel there, and so he's going to move through red doors, and it would move him. Normally, I can't remember exact combinations. I've only been through this a couple times. You'll have to bear with me. But this will tell you basically how he's going to move, and so he's going to move either through red doors or through the red treasure. So and so based on the door that or the room that he's in, each door has a color, and so he'd go through that door and so forth, using the red doors, blue doors, or green doors. Or he's going to move towards certain treasures accordingly as well. This can also affect how much the time moves. This can affect how many spaces he moves, or it can use a secret passage the professor can move through, and he can move directly to a certain treasure. So if he rolled this, he would move straight to the blue treasure all the way to here, and in doing that he's going to activate the trap in that room, he's going to lock any doors that are in that room that we may have already unlocked, and so forth. So as the professor's time moves around, we're trying to collect these before he can get to them. If he gets to that point, then he has gotten away with the red treasure. This one goes away and goes in the lost treasures section over on that side of the board there. And then we would get a new treasure that would be dealt into the library. And so we'd go and find the library, which is over here. And now we have the Bust of Nefertiti, which is now the new red treasure, which has a time of 45 minutes, and so we would set him to 45. And
also, it could end up that he could get that pretty quickly.
Potentially, yes. So that's kind of the flow of things. So we're trying to race against him moving around this timer and going around and capturing us while we're moving through the rooms, using our actions and puzzles to do special things and what have you. So
now, is this the final edition?
This is, as I understand it, this is the final edition, except for the box, which we are noticeably absent here.
Right.
This came straight off the factory, came to the show so we could show it off. It's releasing at Gen Con, so we'll have the whole thing there,
nice.
As well as a retail release that same week. So,
perfect.
So that'll be there. So. Yeah.
All right, great, fantastic. Looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. We really love how this came out. So.
Now I see you have something else to show us as well.
We do have something else to show you. We have. Also recently announced a new partnership with another international partner.
Okay.
I'll hand these down to you and let you kind of scoop these up. And
all right.
Push this guy out of the way a little bit. The new partner that we're working with is a company called Rule and Make. They are based out of Australia.
Okay.
And they have done a handful of games in the past, and one of their newest releases they have that's going to be coming out through us is Skyward, the Airborne City.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so we just announced this one last month in May. And this is a really nice, light, but competitive, I cut, you choose kind of drafting game. So that means that, oops, I got all kinds of tokens in here spilling out. There's going to be there we go, a bunch of tokens, a bunch of cogs, those are helpful, as well as a little warden token.
Okay.
The game is going to be played out with this deck of cards, which of course will be all randomized here. And if it were the two of us playing, whoever currently controls the Warden token, which is randomized at the start of the game, they're going to deal out 4 cards per player to the middle of the table.
All right.
And I'm going to deal out 4, like kind of from all over the deck, because I have not shuffled this deck yet.
Okay.
So I deal out these, and then I deal out 4 more. So we have 8 cards to choose from between us. We're going to take this one, and we'll take the bottom one. There we go. All right. So I have these 8 cards, and what these 8 cards represent, first, is 4 different factions in this false universe trying to build the Airborne City, this new kind of, idyllic new home for the future, basically.
Right.
So the deck goes here, discard pile there. So we deal these out, and then in addition to the 4 factions, there's of course all the iconography on here. There are cards that will represent just giving you resources, which are these guys that'll have the little symbols on the right, and that's resources for that faction. So this is a blue resource, we have green, yellow, and there's a pink faction in there as well. So there's 4 different sets. And then we have buildings, which have costs on the left, and that's how much it costs to purchase it. So what I'm going to do as the Warden is I'm going to split up these 8 cards into 2 piles, and then you're going to get the first pick of those piles.
Okay.
So if I say I really like, I really maybe want this beacon for myself, I might try to make it so that whatever else I put with this is not appealing to you, so that you don't want to take this pile. So maybe I do something like this.
Yeah, I was looking at that guy. He looked like Professor Xavier.
He kind of does, doesn't he?
Except
he's got his legs are working.
Okay. Yeah, his legs are working.
But there you go. So all right, so say I do this, and I put these all together, and they don't have to be even. I could do 3 cards and 5 cards, or 2 and 6, or however I want to split it up. I'm the Warden, I'm in charge. So I then set these together, and then I choose one of the piles to put the Warden token with, and I'm going to put that right here. So you now have first choice of these piles to decide which cards you want to collect. To put into your hand and ultimately try to build into a little tableau you're going to have. If you take this, you become the new Warden. That also nets you a cog, which can be used as a wild resource of sorts. And so you take your choice, whichever one you want.
Oh, I'm taking this.
You're going to go for that. That one looks good. You get 5 things instead of 4. That is presumably good. So as the so as the new Warden, you have the first choice of building a building. So of the cards that you've now collected into your hand, any buildings that you can afford, you could now pay for. So you look here and you have a building that takes...
And we'll put this where you can see it.
Yeah, of course. So you have the assembly line, which takes 1 green resource and then 1 wild resource.
Okay.
So that can be any of the 4. So you have this guy here that gives you 2 green resources. So you could expend this, and I would go to the discard pile to build this and put it in front of you.
Okay.
Then every player would have a chance to do that. So I would have a chance with that building I wanted to build, the beacon. I need to spend 3, and I got 2 blue resources there and another blue resource here, and I have now built a building as well.
Okay.
So on the buildings, you have victory points and you have effects that are going to be granted to you, either new ongoing effects or one-time effects. There's various different types there. And then there's lots of synergy and combos that you can start getting into, especially if you start favoring one faction over another. As you imagine, they kind of work well together. So that's kind of how the game plays out. It plays until one person has built 6 buildings into their what's called their airspace.
All right.
And at that point, then you finish the round, and then everyone adds up all the points they have, any combos they've enacted, and scores the game. So
that sounds great.
Nice and simple. Plays really
Skyward.
quick. Yep. This one will also be releasing. It'll be pre-releasing at Gen Con, actually. So we'll have copies there. It's a $25 MSRP, and then it'll be retail releasing 2 weeks after that on, I believe it's September 1st, if memory serves.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, looks like you had it going this year, brother.
We have a lot of good stuff.
I'm here with Ryan. We'll let you sit down.
Hello.
There you go.
Oh, I get to hold the mic.
Yes.
And
just a few questions for you. Yes. However you want to hold that mic. So we talked about release date for Skyward. You're going to have that at Gen Con a few weeks after that. Did you mention that for Professor Evil as well?
It is also releasing at Gen Con and retail release at the same time. So it's, I think it's like a Friday the 18th or 19th of Gen Con. That's retail and the release of Gen Con. So,
do you know a price yet for Professor Evil?
It should be 40.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's the player count for Professor Evil?
2 to 4 players.
Okay.
There's 5 different characters you can play as, so there's some variability as far as how you want to use the person that's really good with the switches or someone that's really good at manipulating the clock or what have you. You can kind of build your team how you want it.
Okay.
What we've found is really nice is, unlike some other cooperative games where sometimes it feels like certain roles are really integral to winning, this one you can really build the team with any of the 4 of the 5 characters, and you absolutely have as much of a chance as ever. So, yeah.
This question comes up a lot whenever we see a game that uses cardboard standees. Did you look at minis and price that out? Was this always a standee? And what is the price difference when we're talking about cardboard versus plastic? Because it's significant.
It is, as far as I understand it. It's a fair question. I don't work with the manufacturing myself.
Yeah.
And in the case of Professor Evil, it is a FunForge title, and so we don't actually have our hands in any of the product development.
The production part.
Yeah, the production, all that stuff is pretty much with them, and then we take the game kind of as is, bring it to the worldwide market beyond just FunForge's reach. So that's where we kind of fit in there. So it would really be a question for Claude and the crew at FunForge, which I couldn't speak to. But it's definitely a cost-saving measure, I'm sure. I think with the art that's in this game, it speaks a lot to the desire to have the characters really, that art really be featured, as opposed to the miniatures that, if they're painted, they can look great, and unpainted miniatures can be fine, but it's not really the same thing. And I think if I had to guess, and that's purely me guessing, it would be because they really love the art and wanted to show the art off.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
There you go.
I think that covers the chat has been a little bubble fanatics. They're still. We had a game about bubbles yesterday, and they're still talking about the bubbles. So we appreciate you answering the few questions that they have.
Not a problem.
I'm excited to see more from these at Gen Con.
Yes.
And we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for your questions. Stay tuned.